Good morning. I called the, that's an echo. Test. Give us a second to fix the echo. Nothing like we're good? No. I know, trying to do tech on this on the spot. Oh, wait, is that better? Yeah, that's better. Okay. I think we're good. This is better? Okay, if folks online can hear, then we're good. All right, I will. Good morning. I called to order this rule hearing. It is approximately 10 o'clock a.m. Central Time on Tuesday, August 25th, 2026. I am Amanda Crawford, Commissioner of Insurance, and this hearing concerns three rule proposals. Docket number 2869 concerning amendments addressing the dissolution of the Texas Self-Insurance Group Guaranty Fund. Docket number 2870 concerning amendments addressing maintenance taxes for workers' compensation policies, and docket number 2871 concerning amendments to conform health benefit plan rules to implement recent legislation. Notice of today's hearing was posted on TDI's website and published in the Texas Register. This hearing is being recorded, and the recording will be posted on TDI's website. We're using microphones that are built into the ceiling, and they're pretty sensitive, so please help the listeners at home by limiting your side conversations to avoid interference with the speakers. This hearing concerns three rule proposals, each with its own docket number. After this introduction, I will open the docket for the first rule, hear all comments related to that rule, and close the docket before moving to the second rule. I will then follow the same process for the second and third rules. If you'd like to speak on one of today's rules, either in person or on Zoom, you need to submit an online public participation form for that rule. If you need the link to the public participation form, the moderator will provide it in the chat. If you wish to speak on more than one of today's rules, you'll need to fill out a separate public participation form for each rule. I'll first call on those speakers who are attending the hearing in person and then any speakers who are attending on Zoom. For those attending on Zoom, we are directing the audio for this hearing. Currently, the audio is enabled for only the moderator and for me. When it's your turn to speak, we will enable your audio. Once you finish speaking, we will mute your audio again. Please check to make sure your Zoom name matches the name you used to sign up to speak so it is easy for us to find you. Whether you're joining us in person or virtually, I will call on you when it's your turn to speak and ask you to identify yourself for the record. Please clearly state your full name and if you represent an organization, which organization you represent. If you're speaking in person, please come up to the podium so that everyone, including those on Zoom, can see you. If you are joining us virtually, please make sure your audio is on. You may choose whether or not to enable your video feed. If you have questions about virtual participation, or if you registered to speak but are not called on, please message the moderator in the chat by clicking on the chat box and choosing the new chat option. Okay, with that, I, Amanda Crawford, Commissioner of Insurance, open docket number 2869 concerning proposed rule amendments related to the dissolution of the Texas Self-Insurance Group Guarantee Fund. Before calling for public speakers, I will call on TDI staff to explain the rule proposal.
Good morning. I'm Amy Garcia, Chief Analyst of the Financial Analysis Section in the Financial Regulation Division. These proposed rules are intended to implement Senate Bill 264, which prohibits the Commissioner from issuing a new certificate of approval to a proposed workers' compensation insurance group. as provided in Labor Code 407A on or after September 1st, 2025. Senate Bill 264 also provides mechanisms to wind down the self-insurance group guarantee fund and amends certificates of approval issued to a self-insurance group prior to September 1st, 2025. The rule proposal removes references to applicants, incorporates the authority from the new Labor Code provision, and makes non-substantive updates for clarity and to correct grammatical and punctuational errors. This ends my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. The written comment period for this rule proposal is open until 5 p.m. Central Time on August 31st, 2026. At this time, I will now call for public comments from anyone who wants to speak at this hearing. And I see that we have David Baldock with Office of the Public Insurance Counsel who has registered to present, but I do not see him here or online either. Sure. Well, then, Mr. Baldock, if you need to submit your comments to us in writing, we will welcome those comments. All right. Is there anyone else in the room wishing to speak on this matter or online? Okay. Well, hearing none, then let the record reflect that all those desiring to comment on docket number 2869 have done so, and docket number 2869 is now closed. Next, I, Amanda Crawford, Commissioner of Insurance, open docket number 2870 concerning proposed rule amendments addressing maintenance taxes for workers' compensation policies. Before calling for public speakers, I'm going to ask TDI staff to please come up and explain the rule proposal.
Good morning. I'm Amy Maddox, Chief Financial Officer and Associate Commissioner of Financial Services. These proposed rules are intended to implement Senate Bill 1455, which amend the Insurance Code and Labor Code to replace the collection of maintenance taxes for workers' compensation insurance with the collection of workers' compensation surcharges. The rules amend both Chapter 1 and Chapter 6 to replace wording requiring the collection of maintenance taxes for workers' compensation insurance policies with wording requiring the collection of workers' compensation surcharges. The rules also make non-substantive updates to adhere to current agency style, which requires the use of plain language. That ends my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Maddox. I have no questions. So at this time, I see that we do not have anyone that is signed up to speak either in person or online. But I do want to make sure before we close the docket, is there anyone else in the room? We can open up the floor. Anyone in the room or online who wishes to comment on docket number 2870? Okay. Hearing none, then let the record reflect that all those desiring to comment on docket number 2870 have done so, and docket 2870 is now closed. And on our final item on the docket today, I, Amanda Crawford, Commissioner of Insurance, open docket number 2871 concerning proposed rule amendments addressing health benefit plans to implement recent legislation. Before calling for public speakers, I'd like to ask TDI staff, please, to come up and speak on the rule proposal.
Good morning, Commissioner Crawford. My name is Rachel Bowden, and I'm the Director of the Regulatory Initiatives Office in the Life and Health Division. Staff is before you today to propose rulemaking to repeal one section and amend multiple sections in 28 TAC, Chapter 21, subchapters B, H, V, FF, KK, MM, and UU, all relating to life and health insurance. The proposal updates rules that are impacted by several pieces of legislation passed during the 89th legislature, as well as the 87th and 88th legislatures. I'd like to spend a few minutes summarizing some of the key changes in the proposed rules. To implement HB 721 from the 89th legislature and HB 2090 from the 87th legislature, the proposal amends the applicability of the rules implementing Insurance Code Chapter 1662 to remove regional and local healthcare programs that operate under Health and Safety Code Chapter 75. The proposal also updates the machine-readable files data schemas consistent with updates released by CMS in 2025. To implement certain provisions of HB 2221 from the 89th legislature and HB 4611 from the 88th legislature, the proposal updates references in the rules to conform to changes in the Insurance Code and Government Code. To implement certain provisions of SB 1236 from the 89th legislature, the proposal specifies limits on the use of a given group number that is included on a pharmacy ID card. The rule requires lines of business that are often exempt from TDI's regulation, including Medicaid, CHIP, ERS, and TRS, to have unique group numbers. To implement SB 1332 from the 89th legislature, the proposal amends the rule to conform with the statute that allows issuers to waive a group policyholder's liability if they do so in a uniform manner that does not discriminate between similarly situated groups. Unrelated to legislative implementation, the rule updates advertising filing rules to align with modernized life and health filing rules adopted in 2025, and updates the type of HIV tests that may be used for underwriting purposes to align with CDC recommendations. The proposed rule was published in the Texas Register on July 31st, 2026. TDI is providing a period of 30 days to receive comments on the proposed adoption of these rules. TDI will take the received comments as well as the testimony today into consideration as the adoption order for this rule is prepared. Commissioner Crawford, the written comment period will expire at 5 p.m. on August 31st, 2026. Contingent on any comments we receive, staff respectfully requests that you adopt the proposed amendments to 28 TAC, Chapter 21, Sections 21.109, 120, 701, 705, 3003, 4003, 4502, 4703, 5501, and 5503. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for your consideration of these proposals, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Bowden. No questions from me. This is a reminder to all, the public comment period for this rule proposal closes on August 31st, 2026. Please be sure to send all written comments to TDI by 5 p.m. Central Time on August 31st. Now I will call for comments from speakers at this hearing, and I see that we have Dwayne Gallagher here in person to provide comments. Please come on up.
Thank you, Commissioner. My name is Dwayne Gallagher, and I'm here representing the Texas Pharmacy Association today, which I'll refer to as TPA throughout a few comments. First of all, we greatly appreciate TDI's proposal on these rules. I do have a couple of comments, and we do plan to submit some minor suggested changes to the language in writing that you will receive shortly. This is a really important provision. Senate Bill 1236 was TPA's priority legislation. We thank Senator Hughes and Representative Hefner for their work on this bill. And this particular section of the bill is probably the most important one from a pharmacist perspective. We've passed significant PBM reform legislation in recent sessions, but the challenge that pharmacists have had is that their workflow did not allow them to identify whether or not a particular patient is subject to the Texas Insurance Code or not. That's been an ongoing challenge, and that's what this provision is attempting to address, and we appreciate the direction we're going, but we do have a few suggestions for tweaks. One of the biggest challenges that we see with the language is when we think the intent is there, there may be some kind of workflow provisions that need to be tweaked a little bit to really make it have its intended effect. We hope the ultimate result is that a patient or a pharmacist can look at a group number and has a method to quickly identify, is that subject to TDI rules or not? I'll make one minor mention, and I think that I understand what the intent of the rule is, but just to clarify, I looked at my own health benefit card, and I have two group numbers, one for the health benefit plan issuer and one for the pharmacy benefit. So we're assuming that this would apply to the pharmacy benefit. And if that's the case, we believe this is usually handled and assigned by the PBM and not by the health plan issuer. The rule definitely reads that the responsibility lies with the health plan issuer to determine this system and nomenclature, provide that to the public. One potential challenge with that is that when a pharmacy processes a claim in their computer system, they usually don't have the patient's ID card. There's an online system where they can go and search the patient's name and date of birth. It populates their prescription group number, but it will not provide them in their system with the health plan issuer group number. So if the search is based on you have to go to that health plan issuer site, they may not know, they know it's Express Scripts, but they may not know if that's, which of 5 or 6 different health plan issuers they may be providing prescription benefits for. So that's one point of clarification. We want to make sure that the pharmacist, and I know there's an option where the language says that the issuer can provide some interpretation of their internal numbering system. We think that could be really confusing if there's not a more direct, hey, you can put a group number into a search and it populates that back. And possibly the best outcome, and we think the best way to handle this would be for TDI to maintain a crosswalk on its website that the health issuers or the PBMs, if they're the ones that are delegated this task, submit this information to TDI so that they can have a universal crosswalk so that you can look up a health plan issuer or PBM group number on TDI's website and quickly determine whether or not it is subject to state rules. That crosswalk, again, could be done by the PBMs. We think they're probably best equipped to do it. If that is the case, we think there probably should be some clarifying language in the rule that issuers can delegate this authority to a PBM, but it does not absolve them of the responsibility to ensure that it is done in a compliant manner. We think if this crosswalk were available and it was, the issuers of the PBMs maintain it on their website with a link to the state website, it would be much easier for patients to navigate, determine whether or not, hey, am I required to have coverage for this particular step therapy, protection, et cetera, or for a pharmacist to quickly understand, hey, I've got the group number, it's in my computer system, I can quickly identify, is this subject to TDI rules or not? I think those are some minor changes. I mean, it is a structural difference, but it would make it much better for the consumers and for pharmacists, because what they see right now is we see group numbers that include multiple different lines of business, and it's really hard to virtually impossible from the ones I talked to differentiate and make those determinations. This would simplify that process, make it more straightforward, and really help benefit consumers and pharmacies to ensure that there's compliance with the many laws that the legislature has enacted in recent years.
Sure. I appreciate you bringing that to our attention and having some potential solutions. I don't know what that looks like in practice for us, so I'll certainly visit with the team but I really appreciate a practical solution, so thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being here. All right. And I don't see that we have anyone online or anyone else in person signed up to speak on this rule. So I am going to then open up the floor to anyone else in the room who may want to comment on docket number 2871. Anyone online or in person? All right. Then hearing none, let the record reflect that all those desiring to comment on docket number 2871 have done so, and docket number 2871 is now closed. So thank you all for participating in this hearing for docket numbers 2869, 2870, and 2871. This hearing is adjourned.